All right, for this one we're going to be doing the Power Function car version 2. I'm just following my building instructions here so you guys can follow along with me. So we're going to start on this one with our battery pack. And step 1 has us doing 4 of these black pins. So we're going to go 4 of the black pins and the bottom 2 on each side. Okay, just like this. And then we're gonna take our elbow lift arms and we're gonna take the longer side that has 5 and we are going to attach those so that they are down below. So the switch is on top and then these are down, and this one faces forward. This one, the bottom faces back. All right, next we're gonna kind of just flip our view a little bit. So we're looking at the front of the car here, or this will be the front of the car. We're gonna take our axle, this is a length 8 axle, and we're gonna take our bevel gear. We're just gonna put the bevel gear on a little more than halfway. It doesn't have to be measured precisely. We're gonna adjust it later. And we're gonna put it through the first hole on this one. So it's kind of like, so we're here, so we've got this one in the back, and then this one right here, okay? We are gonna take one of these half bushings, these are the tiny axle bushings, and we're gonna put it on the other side, and we're gonna kind of pinch it close. And you wanna make sure that you don't like pinch it so much that this doesn't move. We want a little bit of movement, not too much friction. All right, moving on, step number 5, we're gonna add those black pins to the other side of our battery pack. So we're getting 4 black pins, exactly the same that we just did on this side, and then we take the elbows. This first one, you want to make sure that this first hole is going into the axle, the black axle, so you got to kind of line it up, and then you might need to kind of wiggle it just a little bit, and then that's going to hold this in place here. And then do that rear elbow. Okay. Step number 7 has us doing the same thing, taking that half bushing and putting it on the other side. You'll notice how I'm kind of stopping it with this finger as I push this way. And again, just make sure that we didn't push so hard that, you know, if you push really hard, this doesn't move anymore. See how it's like not even moving? So you want to make sure that there's a little bit of give in here, just a tiny little bit, just so that this moves freely. All right, moving on, step number 8, we're now going to attach wheels on the back. The back wheels, we're just going to use this frictionless pin axle right here. So we're just going to put this on, and then step 9 has us putting both wheels. I've already put the tire on, and so we're going to put it on the back, make sure that it kind of spins freely, and then put it on the front and make sure that this spins freely. If you notice that you don't have enough axle to put it on the front, you can kind of push your axle. It's a kind of a dance where you got to kind of push and pull and make sure that the axle goes through, but make sure that you have enough where if you roll your finger, see how the tire still turns? That means that we're doing good on friction. Okay, now we're gonna spin it around, and step number 10, we're doing the other side. So same thing, that pin, frictionless pin axle, and then we're putting a wheel on the back, and then a wheel on the front, like this, and then we should have a nice car that moves if you push it just a little bit. We want to make sure that there's not a ton of friction. Friction is the enemy of vehicles. All right, now we're going to set this aside, and step 12 has us moving on to the motor. So on step 12, we're going to go ahead and put our axle, length 3, right in the middle, click it all the way in, and then 2 black pins going horizontal. So it goes across. So we've got our black pins here. All right, and then step 13, we're gonna take our bushing. This is the longer one, and it's gonna slide right down like that. Step 14, now these are gonna kind of slide around just a little bit. That's okay. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take these connectors and we're gonna put them in so that they're facing kind of down from the motor. So just like this. And again, they can swivel around. They have some movement, so it's okay if they don't line up perfectly. Okay, step 16, we take our blue axle pins and we're gonna stick them in like this. Oh, and I realized I skipped step 15. It's okay if you do these out of order, which is putting on the gear right here. Now we're gonna take this entire assembly that we just made in our vehicle front, and we are going to attach these 2 pins to these 2 holes here. Again, it's a little bit of a dance to get it in, but if you wiggle it around, kind of hold it in place, and now we shouldn't have our axles moving because our gears are touching. Okay, so we should have like a little bit of give, but it shouldn't spin all the way around. All right, now we have a car. Last thing we need to do is attach our infrared receiver to the back. So we're gonna flip it around and we're gonna put 2 black pins in these holes. 1, 2, and then the 2 holes on the infrared receiver, and that just pushes in just like that. Okay, now to connect it, our infrared receiver is what we plug into the battery pack. So infrared receiver, battery pack, motor goes to the infrared receiver. And color doesn't matter. I'm just gonna choose red. Color doesn't matter. And now we should have a working car. Turn it on. Make sure that the number on the infrared receiver, I'm gonna switch it to 1, matches the number on your controller, 1. And then because I plugged it in on red, I'm gonna be using the red side to go forward and back, forward, back. And if that somehow is reversed, you can always reverse it with this switch, and then backwards is forward and forwards is backwards. So that switch will reverse which direction your controller goes. And you might notice that there's a little bit, you hear that clicking sound a couple times. If there's too much friction, these bevel gears are hardly touching. They just touch almost like not even half of the gears touch. And so sometimes there's a little bit of slippage that happens as that gear goes, and then it doesn't quite catch. So you might notice that there's a little bit of slippage on this one. If there's a ton, you might need to tighten it just a little bit, but again, if it's too tight and too squeezed, you're gonna have too much friction. All right, well, have fun with your car.